and starting the webinar.
Welcome everyone to the Scholarships and Awards webinar. We're just going to give it a minute or two to let everyone hop in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So I also just want to mention to everybody right now that we will be using the Q&A button tonight for questions. We're also having some issues with our chat button, so there isn't a chat. So the only option to ask questions will be to drop it in that Q&A button, which you should be able to see on your Zoom bar. I will be talking about some links as well, and we would usually try to drop them in the chat, but we're going to have them listed on the screen so you can type them in if you want. And I'll also say that we are in webinar format right now, so I'm not able to hear or see you. So again, the best way to reach out and ask any question is to put that in the Q&A. I have a great team on the back end with me tonight. We have Ali, Annalise, Angelo, Jacqueline, Michaela, and Vanessa. So it looks like our numbers have gotten pretty steady, so I'm going to go ahead and start. So welcome everyone to our Scholarships and Awards webinar. My name is Ashlyn Gaughan, and I am an admissions counselor here at UCCS. So to get us started, before I go into the agenda for tonight, I want to give just a little overview about UCCS again, in case it's not at the top of your mind, but we are the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, also known as UCCS. You can see a picture of our beautiful campus right now on the screen. Unfortunately, it does not look that snowy yet. We've been kind of unfortunate with snow, but you always have a beautiful view of the mountains. If you're not that familiar with Colorado Springs, we are located an hour south of the capital city of Denver. And we're the second largest city in Colorado. So still a great place, city vibe, but not too big like Denver would be. And we are also the youngest and the smallest of the University of Colorado schools, only about 12,000 students total, about 10,000 undergrads and about 2,000 master's and PhD students. We also have about 50 undergraduate degrees, about half as many master's programs, and about 7 or 8 PhD programs. So just a little overview about the university. Tonight, we're going to be talking about scholarships and awards. So we're going to first talk about how to claim your account and your UCCS portal. We're also going to talk about UCCS awards, scholarships, and we'll talk about key dates. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A. But as I said before, we're going to be using that Q&A button. So if you do have a question in the middle, totally fine, drop it in, and one of my colleagues will get to you while I'm presenting. So first of all, how to claim your account. So I want to get an idea before I go into this, how many of you have already been accepted to UCCS? If you could use that raise hand button, give me a good idea. All right. Oh, awesome. It looks like most of the group has already been accepted. Awesome. Welcome to the Mountain Lion family. So now for those of you that have been accepted, how many of you have already claimed your UCCS account? Can I get a hand raise for that? Okay. A big number of you have already claimed your account. That is really awesome to see. Not everyone though, so this will still be important to go through. And lastly, how many of you are still waiting on that admissions decision from us? So let's see, okay. Not as many, okay, great. So for those of you that are still waiting though, we really appreciate your patience. We have had a lot of applications come in the last month or two, so we're really grinding through those as fast as we can. But for those of you that have been accepted, we're going to talk about claiming your account if you haven't done so already. So if you want to follow along, you can just go to our website, which is uccs.edu, and this is the page that it will take you to. So if you see in the top right corner, the links and tools, if you click on that, it'll bring you down big drop-down menu, and you're going to be clicking on My UCCS portal, where this little boy is pointing to. You're going to follow that. Then once you click on My UCCS portal, it'll bring you to this page. So if you click on what we have highlighted here, it says still need to claim your account. So that's where you're going to click if you haven't done this yet. And so one thing I want to mention, we get a lot of questions about, does claiming my account commit me to coming to UCCS? No, it does not. This is just an important step you want to take to get more information about UCCS, about what you could be eligible for as far as financial aid, scholarships, all that goes. So claiming your account, applying for scholarships, none of that commits you to coming. It just helps you get that information you need to be able to make your decision about what school you're going to attend. So it also, claiming your account will also give you access to Canvas should you come to UCCS. That is our educational platform where all your classes will be. It gives you access to your student email, campus resources, and a lot more. So once you click on that still need to claim your account, it's going to take you to this page where you can hit that highlighted button that says claim account. So this is where you'll find your username, you'll set up your password, and you do need, again, to be admitted to be able to access this because it's going to ask you for your student ID number to claim your account. So once you've gotten all that done and you're in your account, you're going to be in your portal. So this is kind of what the UCCS portal looks like. You'll see a couple different tiles here. You'll see one for quick links, my action items, student profile, a bunch of other things too if you scroll down. I want to point out really quick, this action items tile might look a little scary. It's in big red, it's got a big number, and you're like, oh my God, what do I need to do? I wouldn't worry. A lot of these action items are things that you might not even be able to handle yet. For example, a really common action item is to submit your final high school transcript. Well, if you're still in high school, you can't do that yet. So wouldn't worry about it, but I would still keep an eye on what those action items are because, for example, if you've already submitted your FAFSA and they're reaching out to you to ask for additional information, you definitely want to get that to them as soon as possible. So keep an eye on those action items, but don't worry if you have a couple you can't tackle yet. But what we're going to do to get to scholarships and awards is we're going to see in this quick links box, there's the second button is financial aid. So if you click on the financial aid button, it's going to take you to this next page that has a number of tiles here. So we're going to be clicking on the tile that is circled, not to be confused with the tile next to it that says accept/decline awards. That is all related to financial aid, FAFSA information that's not going to be active or live yet. We're going to be clicking on the one on the top right that says apply/accept UCCS scholarships. So once you click on that, it'll take you to this page. So this is what it's probably going to look like when you click into it. So all UCCS students should have access to the general application. You'll all have access to that, and you're going to be filling out some general demographic information, some information about extracurriculars. There'll be a number of prompts that they ask you to fill out for that. You might also see an additional application. Some of the majors and departments within the university have their own set of scholarships you can apply for. So for example, this is a College of Business student. So they have an additional application to fill out for those College of Business related scholarships. A lot of those prompts and information they ask are going to be pretty similar, not exactly the same, but for a student like this, you definitely want to fill out both to be able to apply for different scholarships from the university versus ones in your area of study. So you might be asking though, where are the actual scholarships? So there's two ways to get there. If you're an admitted student and you're in this view, just like me, you'll see the tab at the top next to my application that says opportunities. So if you click on opportunities, it'll bring a little drop-down menu that says recommended, hours, and external. So this recommended tab is what our software uses to pull information about you and filter those scholarships for things that are probably a good fit for you. So for example, this student, it's recommended that they apply for the UCCS Honors Program. It's recommending the Presidential Scholars Award for out-of-state students. Since this student was an out-of-state student, it's recommending that they apply for Live Leadership Scholarship. So it's going to pull up a number of them, but I would also be sure to read through all of them because sometimes it can pull in a scholarship that you might not actually be eligible for. Again, this particular student, for example, it was a business student, and so it pulled in a scholarship for already attending UCCS business students, so a continuing student. So since they're not a UCCS student yet, they wouldn't be able to apply for that. But also inversely, there might be a scholarship that you are eligible for that it's not pulling into your recommended. So the way you can look at all the scholarships is if you click on ours instead of recommended, and that will take you to the list of all the UCCS scholarships we have available. And you can read through those and see if there's any additional ones you feel like you're qualified for that you want to apply for. So any scholarship that you think you meet all the requirements for, you're welcome to apply for, and we will let you know down the line if you have earned those scholarships or not. So now that we talked about kind of where to find those scholarships, if you've already been admitted, if you've not been admitted yet and you want to still look at that list, there's another way you can get there. So again, this is where I would usually drop the link in the chat, but since our chat function isn't working, it is this link right here, uccs.edu/finaid/types-of-aid/scholarships. So if you type in that whole link, it'll take you to this page, and there's a couple of tiles here. So you want to look at the one in the top middle that says learn more about many UCCS scholarships available. I'm going to pause here for a second for anyone who wants to still type that in. All right, so once you click on that, it will take you to this page here. So this is our full scholarship page, all of our offerings. Something that's really nice about this page is that you can type in keywords. So if you're an out-of-state student, you can type in out-of-state. You can filter it for leadership scholarships, sports scholarships, transfer scholarships, anything that relates to you, you can filter them. And again, this is the page where you can just look at them and read about each scholarship, but you cannot apply for scholarships through this page. You have to do that through your portal. But if you haven't been admitted yet, this is where you can go look at them so that when you are admitted, you can just hop right into claiming your account and go apply for those scholarships right away. So this is
Ashlyn, sorry to interrupt you. I think people are trying to put in the websites and just having a little bit of trouble keeping up with some of those. So if you can slow down just a touch, I think that'll help. Thanks.
Yes, I will go back to that page so that anybody can type that in. All right. So I'm hoping that everyone who wanted to type it in got a chance to type it in. If not, we can always jump back to that page again, but I'm gonna go forward to talking about WUE really quick. So WUE is the Western Undergraduate Exchange, and that is a tuition classification and not a scholarship or an award. So that's just an important designation to know. So if you are from any of the states that are listed on the screen right now, you will be considered a WUE student, and WUE tuition is resident tuition times 1.5. So that's just an important thing to know. I also want to note as well that WUE tuition includes all majors except for nursing. So if you are a nursing student from one of these states, you will be considered just more of a traditional out-of-state student rather than a WUE student. So that's just something to note. I'm going to hop into talking about a couple of the specific awards and scholarships to be aware of. So two of our admissions awards that we have are called the Chancellor's Award and the Peak Award. So these are our automatic scholarships. So if you are a Colorado resident, you would be eligible for the Chancellor's Award. If you are a non-resident student and also not from WUE, so WUE does not factor into this, the Peak Award. So they are both automatic scholarships if you have a 3.0 GPA and a test score of an ACT of a 22 or above, or an SAT score of 1100 or above. So if you meet those two requirements, this will be awarded to you automatically. There's nothing else that you have to do. Now, if you are since we are test optional, if you don't have those test scores, you are still eligible for this award. It just is not so automatic anymore. So if you have that 3.0 GPA, but you did not submit test scores, you will be invited to apply for one of these awards, should you meet that criteria. So I wouldn't worry about it, but I just want to mention too that this is not something you can search in that scholarship website. Like I said, it will be automatically awarded to you, or you will be invited to be to apply for this award. So chancellors for Colorado students, that's a $10,000 scholarship over 4 years. Peak is for non-residents, not WUE students, $2,500 over 4 years. And then we also have some other scholarships that are stackable and not stackable. So an example of a stackable scholarship would be our Chancellor's Leadership class. So this is a scholarship of $16,000 over 4 years that you can apply for. It's really centered around leadership. It involves leadership once you're actually in UCCS to maintain that scholarship. And that one is stackable, meaning that if you are awarded the Chancellor's Award or the Peak, you can also get the Chancellor's Leadership class in addition to that. Whereas we have the Presidential Non-Resident Award, which is available to all out-of-state students, including WUE, but it is not stackable with that Chancellor's Award or the Peak Award. So if you were to be awarded the Presidential Non-Resident Award, it is 110% of in-state tuition. So because it's lower than WUE tuition, for example, that's why you wouldn't be able to do both. And so this scholarship is one that you can apply for in different categories. There's leadership as it relates to athletics, leadership as it relates to art, and leadership as it relates to science. And you can apply for up to 2 different avenues within that. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about some other scholarships, but we have another link here, which is the where you can find those scholarships listed. So I'm going to pause for a second so anybody else can type that in if they want to. All right, I'm going to hop onto the next page since it's also listed on the next page as well. So I'm just going to shout out a couple other scholarship opportunities we have. These are some that we have for transfer students, non-traditional students. We have an honors program scholarship, which I had mentioned in that screenshot before. And we also have something called the Bruce and Ann Shepard Reach Your Peak Scholarship. That's for Colorado residents. So these are just a number of other scholarships that you can apply for. It's not only for students that are traditional that are coming in. Like I said, we have them for transfer students, non-traditional, lots of different opportunities to get scholarships. And something to note too, that all the scholarships I've mentioned so far are ones that we offer through UCCS specifically, but we do have, I'm going to hop onto the next page, we do have other scholarships that we have listed that are from the local community, from outside of UCCS, that our scholarship office has compiled onto a page. So if you go back to that link that I had talked about originally, so this is that uccs.edu/finaid/types-of-aid/scholarships, you'll find those tiles again, and it's the tile next to the one that says our opportunities. It now says external opportunities. So you really want to maximize your scholarship dollars. There are far more opportunities for scholarships than just offered through UCCS. So this is where you can go and look at some of those. These are just ones that are been made aware to our scholarship office from the outside community, but there are so many more. Just an example, personally, I was a student at UCCS and I was awarded some of the UCCS scholarships, but I also was able to find a scholarship for competitive figure skaters who are full-time college students as well, since I was a competitive figure skater. So that's one that I didn't even know existed until I kind of went and looked outside of the school and I was able to get. So there's lots of different things you can find through external opportunities in addition to our opportunities. So now that we talked a little bit about the different scholarships and how to get there, I'm going to move on to talking about key dates. So you'll see on this slide that our FAFSA application opened on October 1st. So it is a bit past October 1st now, but I would not worry if you haven't gotten to your FAFSA yet. Now is a great time to get it done. It's not due until March 1st. That's our priority deadline, but I would encourage you to get on it as soon as you can because it just helps to get it in. And then our December 1st is when the UCCS scholarship applications were made available. So that was just last week. So again, you're not behind if you haven't gotten started it yet or you haven't gotten your admissions decision yet. We're getting on that soon. And as soon as you have that, you'll be able to go in and work on those scholarship applications. And then starting the week of December 6th, which is this week, is when we're starting to send those invitations out for the Chancellor and Peak Awards if you did not have test scores to go by. So also we're slowly getting those out. So I would not worry if you haven't gotten it yet. It might be next week that you get that invitation as well. And then the next key date to kind of look for is January 4th. That is when we have the priority date for the Chancellor and Peak Awards. So we are reviewing those on an ongoing basis, but the sooner you get it in, the better for that. And then our next dates to look for are February 1st is the deadline for the UCCS merit scholarships. So those are those other ones that you can apply for through UCCS. March 1st is our FAFSA priority deadline and our UCCS need-based scholarship deadline. And then the last deadline to look for is May 1st, which is the UCCS transfer scholarship deadline. So based on all that, I know that's a lot of dates, and I also wouldn't worry. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. We are streaming this right now on our Facebook. So you can always go back to this webinar and look at it down the road. If you can't remember some of the dates or some of the things I said, you can always go back to it. So these dates are kind of what we're working with, but based on that, in early April, mid-April is when you should start hearing back about what you were awarded scholarship-wise. You'll get more information about loans, grants, and work studies as long as you submitted your FAFSA by that priority deadline. So those are some dates to keep in mind. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about award and scholarship tips. So some of you might have joined us last week for our housing webinar, and we really talked about how getting in that housing application early was great for getting what you wanted. Well, it is important to get in your scholarship applications as soon as you can, and by those deadlines, you don't want to rush doing it. It's really important that you take the time to make your best essay, make a good resume, go through all the things that are important in those applications to make sure you have a good one. Getting in first for those scholarship applications is not going to make you more likely to get the scholarship. What's going to make you more likely to get it is if you put the time in and you made sure to represent yourself in the best way you can. So while you're working on those prompts and those essays and answering those questions, think about what makes you unique. How are you stronger than your competition? Also, think about having someone else look at it, edit it, and make sure that there's no obvious mistakes, no names of other universities in that essay. So it's just really important to take your time, make sure it's the best one that you can do and that you're getting it in on time, not early. So that's kind of a couple tips that we have. So next I'm going to shout out the page of our scholarship office. So I'm going to pause here for a second so you can write down any of this information if you want. This is the information about our scholarship office. So if you have any specific questions about any of the scholarships, about your situation in particular, you can always give them a call. They're available during normal office hours, Monday through Friday. You can always send them an email, which their email is scholarships@uccs.edu. So that's a great way to contact them. Like I said, they're super awesome, super helpful, happy to help incoming or potential students. So I'll pause here for a second if you wanted to write down the phone number or the email. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next page. So I just want to mention too that today we talked about scholarships, which is just one piece of the pie when it comes to financial aid. So the other types of aid that you might be eligible for are grants, which that's free money. Work study is the money that you have to work for, and loans is the money that you have to pay back. But if you want to know kind of what you would be eligible for based on those other 3/4 of the pie chart, you want to get in your FAFSA, because that's how we're going to determine what you're eligible for. So just something to keep in mind. And if you want to talk more about your financial aid options, you can always contact our financial aid office. So on the page, we have their email and their phone listed. They are located in Cragmore Hall, which is the same as the admissions office where we are located. So we're located on the ground floor and they're on the second floor. So if you came here for a tour, you've been on campus before, they are located in the same building as us. You can always pop in to talk to them, call them to set up a time to meet. They're happy to talk with potential students or admitted students about anything they have questions about. So that was a lot of information, but now we have made it to the Q&A. So I will open up the Q&A. I'm sure the team has done a great job of answering questions. Doesn't look like we have any open questions right now. If there's any that you want to ask, you can feel free to pop them in right now. We're happy to answer them live.
This is a good question. How do you know if you've received a Peak or Chancellor's Award?
All right, so that's a great question. If you receive the Peak or the Chancellor's Award, you should be notified that you got that. I believe it will be in your portal, but Jacqueline might be able to clarify that.
So that'll actually, yes, you'll get an email notification of that and it won't appear in the portal yet. And so this summer it would go in there. So you will get an email notifying you of that.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. We also got a question about whether the Chancellor Award invite. So I think someone's asking is if you're invited to apply, how that's sent. That is actually sent via email and it can sometimes look like spam. So really pay attention to your email because it's a pretty simple email with a link to the form. It's a form that's generated specifically for each student. So keep an eye on your email for that.
Yes.
All right, this is a good one. My daughter is a high school senior and will be completing her Associate of Arts at the local community college. Is she considered a freshman or transfer, or can she apply for scholarships for both?
Yes, that is a question I was looking at to answer as well. So if she's taking those concurrently in high school, she's considered a freshman student coming in. So she'll definitely be eligible for all those freshman awards, but you're considered a transfer student if you've done over 24 credit hours worth of work after being in high school. So yes, she would be considered a freshman.
If you are awarded scholarships through this process, but then you decide to attend a different school, do the scholarships follow you?
They will not follow you because they are UCCS specific scholarships for all the ones we talked about tonight. If you were to apply for some sort of scholarship outside of UCCS, then that might follow you since it's not linked to the school, but linked to you personally. But any of the scholarships we talked about that you applied through your portal are specifically for UCCS alone.
Yeah. In the state of Colorado, we have something called the Betcher scholarship. And someone asked if the university receives a list of Betcher semifinalists, or if there's a place to indicate that a student achieved that status. We actually do receive those lists. So we will be aware of that, and you'll probably get some follow-up information as well. Let's see, it looks like our team is definitely busy answering a lot of these questions. Yeah. When and how are we notified about the FAFSA awards?
Yeah, so financial aid should be sending out those awards and packages kind of around what we were talking about early April or mid-April, and that's as long as you got that FAFSA in by the priority deadline. So they will be emailing you, reaching out to you to let you know what you are eligible for based on your FAFSA around April.
All right, looks like our team is answering a lot of the questions in the background. And really, it's exciting to see there's so many of you off to a great start with taking your concurrent classes at community colleges while you're in high school. And that puts you in as that freshman categorization for scholarship opportunities. So for those of you that are still waiting to find out about your status, definitely recommend just going to that scholarship website and doing searches because you can get an idea of what is available. So, and also tomorrow we will be having a housing webinar. So if you are admitted, again, you do have to be admitted to do the housing application, but we will have a live session where we have a student currently living in housing that's going to be showing one of their suites, and we'll be taking questions for that as well and just kind of going over all of the different housing options. And you can sign up for that webinar by going to www.uccs.edu/virtual. If you can't make it tomorrow, we'll offer some again in January. So that uccs.edu/virtual is the best place to see what upcoming sessions we have. Someone asked on the general application, it says, what is your intended graduation date for the degree? Since it's asking for a date that includes the exact day, what should I put? You can just put an estimate in. That is okay. You don't have to know the exact date that you are graduating. But for those of you that have your countdowns going, that's very exciting to probably see those days counting down to graduation. We got a question here. Can a person who is separating from, Vanessa's got it. She's already on it answering that question. That's perfect. We got a question about the GPA requirement for the presidential award. Oh, and Angelo, I think, is going to send you a response to that. But all of the scholarships, even when you do the scholarship search, it will list what the criteria is for the scholarship. So if there's a GPA requirement, if it's a financial need-based scholarship, it'll list information about what the estimated family contribution would need to look like as determined by the FAFSA. So even in that search without being an admitted student, you can go in and see all of that information. So these are great questions. So we did get a question in here about scholarships for immigrants. And my recommendation is to email scholarships@uccs.edu. You can do that. I know it really depends on what your immigrant status would be. So if you are considered an international student, if you're not classified as a citizen, permanent resident, you're not coming in through ASSET or DACA, there's a true international scholarship. But then there are also scholarship opportunities for other categories of student as well. So you can put in things like DACA into our search and you can see scholarships that are available. But our scholarship office would definitely be able to direct you with that as well. And I'm just going to try to find our international. So our international scholarship is called International Mountain Lion Scholarship. So that's a little bit easier to remember. So again, with that immigrant status, it truly depends on additional classifications within being an immigrant, how that would be. But for additional follow-up, definitely email scholarships@uccs.edu, or you can do some of that searching. And as Ashlyn was showing you, you can type in specific words like DACA or international and get more information. So looks like we're finishing up our last few questions. Oh, well, a couple more coming in.
More, yeah.
Spoke too soon. All right, our team is getting to these. Do you apply for, do you apply for the Chancellor's Award every year, or do you only need to qualify the first year?
Yeah, so that is something that you would qualify for coming in only the first year, but it lasts over the 4 years. So the Chancellor's Award is $10,000 over 4 years, so about $2,500 a year. We do have a number of continuing student scholarships that you can apply for as you go through your years, but that scholarship specifically is for incoming students.
And I would point out that there are requirements to keep the Chancellor and Peak scholarships. So you do have to be progressing with your degree and completing 30 credit hours per year. So between 2 semesters, averaging 15 credit hours per semester, or completing 30 in the year. And then you do need to maintain a 3.0 GPA in college to keep the Peak and Chancellor scholarships. All right. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us tonight.
Thank you to everyone. I think we have a couple more, just a slide about coming to visit us. If you haven't taken a tour, you do want to come visit us, you can just go to that website, which Jacqueline shouted out, which was uccs.edu/visit to schedule a campus tour, or for our other events, it's uccs.edu/virtual. So that's where you can go find those. If you want to go to that housing webinar tomorrow, we'd love to have you. And then finally, just thank everyone for attending. So we hope that you have an awesome day. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. That Facebook is where you can go back and watch this again at our UCCS Admissions Facebook page. So thank you all for attending and for your great questions, and we hope you have a great day.